Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Star Wars Rebels trailer analysis video. This one is going to be for the Season 4 mid-season finale, or I suppose it's more or less our big, season finale trailer. We're obviously going to get like individual kind of clips and stuff like that from the rest of the episodes as they come out. But in terms of a big trailer for the start of a season or the second half of a season, this is kind of like the last one for the show, so I definitely wanted to do one for this, given that there's only a couple of episodes left, I think 7, and we're basically going to get all 7 of those over the course of like 3 or 4 weeks, so the show will be over before we know it pretty much. So yeah, let's just jump in. Some initial thoughts on the trailer are that I thought it was overall quite good. Obviously there's some big stuff going to happen towards the end of the series, and they didn't want to spoil much of it, so I thought they focused on the stuff that they could without going like overboard, while still actually I think teasing a lot. So on that form it's a positive, but at the same time half of the trailer was just kind of recapping old stuff, which makes sense. It's the last big trailer, as I said. Why not recap the show? And I think the way they went about recapping the show with showing, I think, most of the clips of like Ezra with animals, and then really emphasizing that connection that he has kind of currently with animals, it makes you kind of really lean into that stuff and kind of wonder what exactly is going down here. And I think all of the people theorizing about what's going to happen are definitely leaning towards something related to Ezra's connection with animals. But beyond that, it covered about what we expected of just like, okay, there's some big stuff gonna go happening on Lothal. The rescue of Hera, of course, has to happen. That's probably the main thing that they spoil here, but I suppose it's the one that we sort of knew about already. She's mentioned in Rogue One. We know she survives after like episode 6, so we knew Hera survived and was obviously rescued at some point, so it made sense that this was the one thing that they kind of lean into a little bit more than the others. But yeah, in terms of the plot, here's the first screenshot I have here. It's this seems to be what they're going for with Lothal. This is the big plan the Empire has, that the Force-sensitive animals, the Lothwolves, seem to be aware of, that the Empire are going to bring this thing down onto the planet. And that combined with, I think, Thrawn later on in the trailer kind of opening fire on the planet, not really caring about the planet, it's going to lead to the fact that they are probably going to risk destroying the entire planet to get what they want out of the planet. And obviously I think there is still some sort of a bigger reveal coming with Lothal. They're probably going to further the idea of like, okay, there's not just a Jedi temple here, there's some deeper Force stuff going on here. And that might be related to what the Empire want. And this machine here is probably going to be the big central kind of action set piece around which the finale is going to take place. That they're going to have to attack this thing to take it down before the planet's destroyed, or something along those lines. Next one I have here is Kanan. So this is one of the bigger things we get from the trailer, is that Kanan basically cuts his hair quite short, and Hera doesn't seem to like it. But obviously we'll have to see some more clearer focuses on what he looks like, but it's an interesting that they're going to give Kanan a redesign right at the end, when we almost like more or less expect him to be one of the key characters that they have to kill off before the end of the series, but they're still giving him that redesign. We're so used to him having the long hair. It'll be very interesting to see what how he looks just with it being so short here, and if they go further into the Hera and Kanan relationship, which has been I think a big positive people have been talking about with the first half of the season, that they leaned into this much more. They made it just really, really clear that the two are basically going to start a relationship, but obviously crazy stuff is happening, and that's obviously going to get in the way of whatever they want to do from happening. So next up we have Palpatine, or Sidious, whatever way you want to call him, and him referencing Ezra and clearly having some sort of a confrontation with Ezra. I'm assuming it's through the Force rather than directly, but still, it makes sense to a degree. Vader kind of tried and failed to kind of take these other Jedi out. It makes sense that Sidious would have his attempt at doing it, especially if maybe he is aware of some sort of a deeper connection that Ezra has to the Force, and that if he could be a deeper factor with his connection to the Force-sensitive animals. That's definitely going to be an interesting one to see where it goes, in that they can't make Ezra like overly important, but they also don't want to just dismiss him as just being another Jedi. So having him have some sort of a conflict with Sidious, I think, is a good thing to just add to him overall. Next up could be related to Sidious, but I'm not entirely sure. It's that obviously this is either a hologram or a Force ghost kind of vision. I'm assuming it might be Obi-Wan, just to kind of bookmark the entire series, that they give kind of Ezra a kind of... He sees the hologram of Obi-Wan at the start, and he sees a connection to Obi-Wan towards the end. I'm not really sure what to make of it. They could, again, go a lot of different directions with it, depending on what they want to do. Next one is very, very interesting. This got me the most excited when I saw this in the trailer. It's obviously some sort of a mural on a wall featuring the father, the son, and the daughter from Mortis, of course. And obviously we know in that episode they were all killed, but they, towards the end of that arc from the Clone Wars, they kind of made you question if the events of that episode actually took place. But it seemed so important, and they leaned into it so heavily, that you have to at least put some importance on the events that actually took place in those episodes. So the fact that Ezra, we're kind of returning to them, and it's mostly the same creative team here, obviously suggests that they're going to do something with this. Because obviously, I think the key takeaways from this are that, like, okay, all of them were killed, but Ahsoka in that episode was killed and then revived using the last bit of kind of life essence from the daughter. And then if we reference the kind of bird thing from later on in the episode, it sort of has the same color scheme as the kind of griffin animal that the daughter transformed into. And it could be a way to wrap up like Ahsoka's arc by saying that she has some of the abilities of the daughter and was able to survive her encounter with Vader by like turning into some sort of a Force animal, which I think may end up being one of the things they go for in terms of kind of world building, is really establishing what these Force-sensitive animals are about, and why Ezra's kind of key technique is that he has this connection to these Force-sensitive animals, whether it be the Loth Wolves here, or the kind of hyperspace whale things from a couple of seasons ago, or whatever. He connects with animals quite well, and that is something notable. But also just the fact that these are, beings that represent the other sides of the Force, that in a way the prophecy of the Chosen One kind of, I think if you look into the lore, kind of comes from this group, in that it's their prophecy that there's a Chosen One, and that in that episode when they met Anakin, they wanted him to come in. The father wanted kind of Anakin to replace him as he was kind of getting older, and it is their prophecy in a way. So if they lean into this, making it kind of more canon and talking about it more, that's going to be a big thing. So I kind of wonder, are they actually going to explain anything about this, or is this just a visual reference that they maybe focus on for just a little bit? But anyway, we move on. Next up we have, speaking of Force-sensitive animals, we have Ezra talking to a giant Loth Wolf, which is different than the other ones. I think some people have been talking about the colour of the different animals' eyes, and that this could be maybe like, oh, if something happens to Kanan, this could be the animal Kanan like ends up maybe transforming into. At the same time, it would be weird if they went down the road of doing the Force-sensitive animal thing and they just have like half of the cast turn into Force-sensitive animals. Like, oh, Ahsoka didn't die, she's this owl. Kanan didn't die, he's this wolf. And then Ezra didn't die, he's this insert animal here. Either way, what we do know is that there's something very important with the Loth Wolves that's going to happen. They're emphasizing them a lot, and I think there is some sort of reveal coming about whatever's going on in Lothal, whatever the Empire wants, and whatever the Loth Wolves are about. And this being the potential leader of the Loth Wolves or something like that, this is probably where we're going to get the full reveal about what exactly is happening. Next up is just this interesting visual here that leads into kind of the next shot, and you can sort of tell by the costume that the armor that Ezra's wearing, that this is in the same sort of area of the episode as the stuff with the Mortis characters and with the owl that we see later on. That clearly he either goes into some area maybe under Lothal, which I think might be what they go for, that here is this kind of secret intersection of the planet where, you know, Ezra has this kind of force journey type situation where he makes the connection with these animals and maybe gains his key understanding going into the final battle or whatever. Because he mentions that he knows this bird from before, and of course if they're doing the force animal thing, it could be a character that he's referring to again. But either way, some sort of a journey happens. He travels through, meets this bird, sees the mural of the ones, basically, the father, the daughter, and the the son. And then we end the trailer with what seems to be like Ezra going into the final battle, flanked by the Loth Wolves, and something's really about to go down, and he talks about like the final lesson. So very interesting stuff overall. Obviously they're holding back on a lot. They're teasing us with the key bits of information, but I like what I see here, in that I think there is some sort of a deeper, like, here's something new about the Force we didn't know all that much about coming in the finale. I'm hoping, I suppose, that they don't, with regards to, I suppose, killing off characters, obviously the two that they kind of have to, in a way, get rid of before the series ends are Kanan and Ezra, in that kind of Luke has to be the last Jedi. It has to be the last few Jedi remaining in A New Hope have to be Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Luke. So it means that something has to happen to Ezra and Kanan. And if they get out of it by doing some sort of a Force animal thing, or having them survive but maybe lose their Force abilities, that's a way to get out of it. As for other characters, we know Hera survives. They could kill off Zeb, they could kill off Sabine, but I'm not sure if they will. It could be just, I think it maybe is too much of a tragic thing if they just kill off every one of the characters. I think Kanan probably will end up being the more kind of maybe tragic character that they kill off, and then Ezra will probably be like, similar to what they did with Ahsoka, more like left open to interpretation, but like you have an idea about what happened to him, and it's not as like, oh no, they killed him like they killed this other character. So that's going to be an interesting one. And then on the villain side of things, given that the attention turns back to Lothal and potentially the destruction of the planet, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with the likes of Thrawn and Price. In that, Price obviously is the governor of Lothal. Lothal is her home planet. If you read the books especially, you know that she cares about the planet, and it'll be a big idea about if she speaks out against the plan to potentially destroy the planet, or if she's actually okay with it, and that would really cement her being a villain at this point. Or they could do a slight turn that references the books and have her maybe go against Thrawn. Similarly with Thrawn, he's been quite weakly characterized in the show. I'd be really disappointed if they killed him off without doing anything particularly interesting with him. So I'd be hoping for Thrawn to probably survive the series. Maybe like his ship gets damaged and he has to retreat or something like that. But I'd be really, really disappointed if they just kill him and this is his involvement in the series. So there's that. And then I suppose just how do they end it? Do they just end it with like, because we have to focus on the rebellion and not just the Force. So I'd assume it has to be a victory for the rebellion at Lothal, and it represents this like massive victory for the newly forming rebellion, and it gives hope to people across the galaxy, and that's what really gets us to the place where we're actually borderline kind of, you know, on the verge of making some big moves going into A New Hope. Other than that, I don't think I have a lot to say. It'll depend on where they go with the episodes. We still have, 7 episodes is a lot still to come. Not all of them are going to be the craziness of, I suppose, what the finale will probably be. But there's some good stuff to come. Saving Hera, the Ezra's spirit journey, the stuff with the animals, the big Lothal stuff. There's events that still have to happen. I think you can see in the background from some of the other shots that like Hondo comes back at some point. he doesn't really interest in me. I think he's been quite poor the last few times they've used him. But you know what? Rebels coming back in not too far away is a pretty good thing, and I'm glad that they're not like overly extending the show. I think it's probably about time that these episodes, I think, make sense to wrap it up, and we can move on to something else in animation. But they're my thoughts on the trailer. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this trailer and a lot of the theories that you're having. But yeah, that's been my video. Thanks for watching, and bye.